Hey guys, and welcome to another One Warrior podcast. I decided we're going to get one more podcast in before Christmas because some people are traveling, and when I'm traveling, I like to listen to podcasts in the car. I love like Q&A episodes and stuff, so I thought why not give you guys one last Q&A episode for the year, and that way you can listen to this in your car in your long car drive traveling with family and or your long travels, just something to kind of pass the time by. So I thought, why not just do a Q&A? I did not advertise this Q&A. This Q&A comes from questions that have been in my email that I have not gotten back to. It's also some from clients and stuff that said they didn't mind having it answered on podcast. So this is kind of a collection of things I've collected that I haven't answered yet. So it should be a pretty interesting podcast. There's not a ton of questions, but I still think this is going to be a nice hour-long podcast if we get into some of these in depth. But I first off want to say Spotify now has a review podcast system. So if you are listening to this podcast on Spotify, if you could, click the stars and give me how many stars you think I'm worth. I mean, I think I'm worth a 5-star podcast, but it's up to you. At least give me 4 stars, but it's up to you. Please give it a rating, though. It will help boost this podcast, boost it for other people to see. It'll boost the algorithms, and it will attract more people to this One Warrior family that we are creating slowly. So please do that. Appreciate that greatly. Also, if you have not yet, subscribe to my YouTube. I've been trying to get daily videos posted out there through all kinds of stuff. And this past week, I did a review on the new Halo trailer that came out for the new Halo TV show that Paramount Plus is shooting this next year. I did a little review, my thoughts on it, and how excited I am for that. I also put out a video showing seven new TV shows. I think it's TV shows and movies to watch during the holidays to kind of fill your free time if you're bored. Very good stuff that I recommend out there. That is also out there. And also, we're still continuing with the Code Vein Let's Play. So make sure and check that out too if you need some like gaming content. Like I said, YouTube is going to be like one of my big goals for 2022. I want to continue to put out as much content and grow that as big as I can, as that will help just spread this whole family in different ways. Because my life being one warrior is not just about fitness. It's not just about finances or anything like that. It's a lifestyle. One warrior is about just being a warrior in your life. And whether that's, gaming or at the gym or finances, anything, that is the whole mentality of this brand, of this community and group and tribe that I'm trying to build with this whole brand, basically. So make sure and check out all my content. I think you guys will enjoy, especially if you like gaming and anime and movies and all that. You're gonna like the other content I'm working on too. Omnicron, man. Have you heard about this? This is just getting crazy. And it's so crazy because the fear is just absolutely insane. We have an administration right now in our White House that put out a press on the White House website the other day saying how we're here for the vaccinated people. We're going to try to make this winter go smooth for the vaccinated. But then it says under that, but for the unvaccinated, you are I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was basically demonizing people that are unvaxxed. It was saying people that are unvaxxed, you are going to be going into a dark winter and many more deaths are going to be behind you and more hospital filling up and everything. And that's because the unvaccinated. Now, I'm going to say right now, I'm not vaccinated. I never got the COVID vaccine, and I never will. I never got any of the boosters, and I never will. I just don't trust it. I don't trust a lot of things out there right now. And I recommend you do your own research. I'm not against people who get the vaccine or whatever. It's your choice. But what I am trying to teach on this podcast about everything in life is be a warrior. And a warrior does not follow sheep. Like a warrior does not follow like sheep. The only thing a warrior follows like sheep is the good Lord, God, Jesus Christ. We follow him like sheep. He is our shepherd. But anybody on this earth, we do not follow like sheep. We are warriors of God. We are not warriors of people on this earth. So my recommendation is to stop being a sheep That is what I'm trying to teach people. Stop being a sheep. If somebody says to do something, don't just do it because they say it. Don't just take the vaccine because our government says you take the vaccine because it'll help out so many people and stuff. Make your own decisions. Do your own research and make your own decisions. Do not just follow people like sheep. That is one of the most crazy things that I've seen in the past couple years, how sheepish people are. They hear something, they hear what the media says to do, and they're like, I gotta do that. The media told me to do that. The media told me I need 3 boosters. I need 3 boosters. Why are we thinking like that? Make your own decisions in this life. If you don't want to do something, then don't do it. What are they going to do? Hold you down and stick a needle in your arm? They try that on me, they're going to get their head sliced off with a katana. Literally, we have the right to stand up for ourselves. If you don't want to get vaccinated, you don't have to get vaccinated. And I bring this up today just because I've had some clients and people that I know, message me and ask me what my opinions are on this whole coronavirus, new Omicron, and my opinion on how the government is handling this. And the government is asinine. We know this. The whole Biden administration is asinine. They are destroying America. Inflation is crazy, which we will talk about a little bit today because I've got some questions about that. But it is just a crazy time in America right now, and we just need to pray. We need to pray, and, God has a plan for us all, and it's all going to work out. Maybe we are truly in the end times this time. I don't know. I just know that we got to put our trust in God and let go and let God. That is what we just have to do. And being warriors of God, we have to trust our good Lord and Savior. I want to also bring this up too. I am no longer a supporter of the Williams County YMCA. I have been a supporter for them and taught seminars and classes and all kinds of stuff for that YMCA since 2014. But as of this past week, we are no longer associated with them. One Warrior is no longer associated with them. Nothing of my brand is associated with any YMCA. And we are now training at Fountain City Fitness. That's where my team trains in person. That's who I'm recommending locally. The guy who owns that gym is truly a godsend. I was able to message him after all the drama went down at the YMCA this past week, and he got back to us, and it was just he just responded real good to us. And Fountain City Fitness is going to be the new home for us Warriors. That's where we're going to be training at over there. If you're at the Williams County YMCA and you're still a friend of mine, that's fine. If you're still want to be part of my One Warrior tribe, that's fine. You can stay at the YMCA. You don't have to leave. But I am just saying that they have done some shady stuff. They have broken some contracts with me, and I am no longer a supporter of the Williams County YMCA in Bryan, Ohio. Nor will I recommend them to anybody anymore. With that, I think our intro is done, and we're going to jump right into this Q&A. So sit back, relax. Maybe don't relax so much if you're driving or something, but if you're not driving, maybe grab a beer or some, eggnog. It's a holiday, so grab some eggnog or whatever your crutch is. Relax and enjoy this Q&A. I think you're going to learn a lot through some of these questions because, like I said, these questions were not advertised. These have been some in my emails, some that have built up in my messages, and some from just some of my clients over the years. So we're just going to start out. The first one, I've been bulking for 6 months. My body fat is around 16%. I've made great progress, but when should I cut? This is a great question. When should you cut is a very popular question too. It's one of the most popular questions I get. People balk and then they decide, oh, I made some progress here and there. When should I cut? And the better question is to ask yourself is, are you happy with the progress you have? Are you happy with what you see in the mirror? This is one of the first things I always ask people. Are you happy with what you see currently in the mirror? Because if you are happy with what you currently see in the mirror, continue to do that until the mirror deceives you. I'm a big fan of balking until the mirror shows me something that I don't like. Once the mirror shows something that I don't like, then I start to reevaluate, okay, am I still making progress in the gym? Am I still getting stronger? If I'm still getting stronger, I may carry the bulk out a bit longer. But there'll be a time where the mirror is deceiving me, and also I'm no longer getting stronger. So what's the best thing to do then? If I'm no longer happy looking in the mirror, and if I'm no longer making progress, The best thing to do is the opposite of what you're doing. So if you're bulking, cut. If you're cutting, bulk. The best way to make a decision when it comes to your physique is to adjust as you see needed by you seeing what the mirror is showing you and also what the gym is showing you on your movements, if you're getting stronger and whatnot. Also, if you're not getting as much pumps, if your pumps are lacking, that also could mean your insulin sensitivity is lower and you need to go on a cut to boost that higher again. Because remember, we want high insulin sensitivity. High insulin sensitivity is a very good thing. You can put on a lot more muscle with that. You can stay in box longer with that. You just look more jacked. You get bigger pumps with higher insulin sensitivity. Like I've talked about on the other podcasts. That is one of the main things I look for when somebody is bulking or when somebody's cutting. But for you, you've been bulking 6 months. That's a good amount of time. I don't know how long you've been training though. If this is like your 5th year training, you've been bulking 6 months. That's a solid bulk. I'd recommend maybe a little bit longer, 6 months. But your body fat is around 16%. 16% is not bad. Usually around 17, 18%. Studies have shown insulin sensitivity dropping and also testosterone dropping. So I usually tell people around that 17, 18% mark to probably go into a cut for a bit so they can boost some of those other stuff again. But 6 months, around 16%, you've made great progress. My advice to this person: if you're happy with what you see in the mirror, continue to bulk. And continue to bulk till you're kind of iffy on that. When you start to see in the mirror, okay, I think I'm getting a little too big, maybe a little bit too fluffy, I'm going to cut back some. That's my recommendation to you. But 16% is not bad on a bulk. 6 months, I'd push it. Push it for another month and a half and see where you're at. That's my advice. Best protein powder on the market. So I stopped using protein powders back before COVID, or as COVID happened, because I was trying to save as much money as I could. So I stopped using protein powders then, and I use milk nowadays. I just drink regular milk. But for protein powder, the main thing you need to make sure is the first ingredient is whey isolate. Whey isolate, not whey concentrate. If you see whey concentrate as the first ingredient, it's a bad protein. The must have is whey isolate as the first ingredient. Isolate protein, isolate whey is the most bang for your buck protein that you're going to get. And it's a tricky one too, because there's a lot of good brands out there that put concentrate as the first, and that's not something I recommend. I always look for that. If you're going to buy whey protein, make sure it's an isolate. Isolate is, and not just the isolate it says on the brand, because most proteins will just say they're a whey isolate, but you look at the ingredients list and it says whey concentrate as the first ingredient. Make sure that says whey isolate as the first ingredient. Wondering what are the numbers to get in powerlifting before you can compete? Wondering what the numbers are to get in powerlifting before you compete. I'm a little confused by this question, but I think you mean what are some good numbers to have before you start getting competitive in powerlifting? I love this question because this question is asked by so many people. They want to get to certain numbers first and then compete. My advice is, when you want to compete, just compete and see what you can do, because everything is going to be different on the mats when you compete in a meet than it is in a gym. You are always going to be stronger in your gym workouts. That's why there is gym PRs and there are meet PRs, because you're always going to be feeling stronger and better in the gym because you don't have the added stress of the contest. You have your music to listen to. These are all things that can help you be stronger. So my advice, if you are thinking about powerlifting or you want to powerlift, just go to a meet. It doesn't matter what your numbers are. Just compete. See what your numbers can be, and then you can have a base. Once you do that, get a base for your numbers for powerlifting. Then you can, modify your program and all kinds of stuff to just get it better over time and improve over time. That's all something you should try to do. You should always be trying to improve in your lifts, and a good way to go about it is just to start a meet. Just go to a meet. If you really want to recommended numbers, I don't know. It depends on your body weight too. I don't think I can recommend numbers. I mean, a 150-pound lifter is always going to have littler numbers than somebody who's around 200. The heavier you weigh, the more weight you're going to lift. So what kind of weight you lift is not the question to ask. It's, do you want to compete? If you want to compete, my recommendation is just go compete. Because you got to just start somewhere. Start somewhere and build from there. That's my recommendation on that. How would I utilize a DUP split? So he's talking about daily undulating periodization. I've talked about that before. A DUP split specializing in bench volume. So if I was programming a daily undulating periodization split, trying to get somebody stronger in bench, I would have them benching probably 3 times a week. I would probably do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. For me, what I would do, Monday would be a pretty light day. It wouldn't be crazy heavy. Monday would probably be a light day, maybe like 4 sets of 8. Wednesday, I'm thinking like maybe like 4 sets of 5. And then Friday, maybe would be your heavier day, would be like 3 sets of 3. Or you could reverse that too. If you wanted to lift heavier in the beginning of the week, I've sometimes done that too, where you feel stronger, generally on Monday. If you take the weekends off, you feel stronger on Monday. So have your strength day on Monday. So do your 3 sets of 3 on Monday. And then have maybe your 4 sets of 8 on Wednesday. So maybe a rep day in the middle of the week. And then the end of the week on Friday, when you're all taxed from work through the week and everything, maybe that would be a good day to do your lighter work. The 4 sets of 8, and then the Wednesday in the middle, maybe do 4 sets of 5 or a 5x5, 5 sets of 5. It's the main thing is working with different percentages throughout the week, having a heavy day, a lighter day, and a moderate day, or a heavy day, a moderate day, and a speed day. A speed day would be like 6 sets of 3 with a minute rest between. I've seen some people progress with that. I'm not the biggest fan of speed work, just because I've noticed more. When I used to powerlift, I noticed a lot more progression by just doing more rep work, not necessarily speed work. So I have changed my mind on speed work quite a bit, unless it's like banded speed work or with chains or some type of accommodating resistance on that. If you want to know about accommodating resistance, look into Conjugate. Conjugate, it was created by Louis Simmons, great power lifter, very, very strong guy back in the day. But he was the one that created Conjugate, and he utilized all kind of accommodating resistance during speed work and whatnot. So you can look into that if you want to utilize that. But for daily undulating periodization, mainly just work on having 3 days of benching, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, have a heavy day, have a lighter day, and have a moderate day. That's the best way I would go about it. And just go from there. Okay, any tips on growing my hair faster? I've been in an awkward stage for what feels like forever, and it's still not long enough to tie back. Oh, the awkward stage. The awkward stage of growing your hair out. This brings back so many memories. It was so many days of, not knowing what to do with your hair. You couldn't tie it back yet, so you couldn't make it look nice and professional yet, but it had to stay out of your eyes, for work. So what I did in those phases, because what felt like forever, the awkward stage literally feels like it goes on forever. It feels like it never can get long enough to be able to tie back. I remember the first day I was at the gym and I was getting ready to go work out, and I was like, today I think's the day. And I go to tie it back and I'm like, yes, I can finally tie my hair back in a half up, half down. And that's a big feeling the first time you can tie it back then. But until then, the best advice I can give you is get a little bit of hair gel, not a lot. You don't want a lot of hair gel. But after your shower, comb your hair straight back, slick it back, and use a little bit of hair gel, just enough to keep it in place. Not something that's going to keep your hair all crusty and everything, just enough to keep it back. And also use a blow dryer on, what I did was I kept it on low and no heat, so it was cold. You don't want heat when you're blowing with gel, otherwise it's going to create a poofy effect. And you don't want that. You want it to be slicked back nice and neat until you can tie it back. So what you do is right after the shower, with your hair a little bit damp, use some gel, a little teeny bit, and start putting it back and start rubbing your hair backwards. Use a comb then also, comb it back so it looks nice and neat, and then use a hair dryer on low, on cold, and blow it slightly backwards, and that will help keep it in place. It won't make it look hard and crusty. It will make it look like a natural flow back. And just do that until you can tie it back all the way. That's what I did for the longest time. Also, hats Hats are a great thing. I was never a big hat guy. I just don't like hats. I just never been a fan of hats myself. But if you like hats, that's a great time to wear a lot of hats. They can help a lot through the awkward stages. Just don't give up. I see so many people in the awkward stage give up because they're sick of having hair fly all over. Keep with it, because it is such an amazing feeling the first time you can tie your hair back and you tie it back and it just looks fantastic and you're like, damn, this was so worth the wait. And once you get to that point, you will never ever cut your hair short again in life, just because you having long hair, tying it back, just having that freedom. There's a freedom that comes with long hair. I don't know what it is. I think men were originally made by God to have long hair, because when you have long hair, you just feel a certain freedom that you just don't feel when you have short hair. And that's one of the reasons I think a lot of people grow their hair out, is because they just are looking for something different rather than just being the norm, walking around like everybody else with nice short hair, like one of the sheep, basically. I mean, that's one of the reasons too I prefer long hair. It's just something out of the norm. A lot of people don't have long hair. A lot of people keep it all short and cut clean, and I'm just not a fan about following everybody else. I've always liked being different. I've always liked being the odd one out, just because I don't like to be a sheep. So my advice too is just stay patient. Do not give in, because there's so many people that give in and shave it all off during the awkward stage because they've given up. Don't give up. The results are so worth it. Stick with it. I promise you, stick with it. Before you know it, you'll be tying your hair back, looking like a freaking beast. Inflation is killing my bank account. What on earth do I eat? Dude, join the crew. I mean, financially wise, I have not been doing so well. I'm going to be straight out honest. This past year has been terrible financially for me. It's just been a very bad financial year. Hopefully 2022 is better, or I'm going to have to get a part-time job or something. But inflation has been terrible. It's been terrible. And honestly, what I've been doing lately is I've been eating a lot of canned tuna. It is what it is. I haven't been able to have a steak for about a month now, actually. And as you know me, I mean, I wrote in my book, how many steaks I eat and everything. And it's like, I haven't had a steak in about a month. And it's like a red meat withdrawal. But like pork, canned tuna, I don't like chicken. Chicken is just so low nutrient dense. Canned tuna actually has like 3 times the nutrients and micros that canned chicken has. Basically, canned chicken is just protein with a teeny bit of B vitamins and no omegas. Canned tuna, you're getting at least you're getting a good amount of protein. You're getting B vitamins. You're getting a nice amount of sodium in there too. Nice amount of all kinds of good stuff. I'd have to look up the nutrients for it. This is kind of early, me recording this podcast, so my brain's kind of all over the place right now. But I like to say canned tuna is like the poor man's steak, because canned tuna is cheap, but it's also a lot more nutrients dense than just say chicken. It has a lot more nutrients. So that's why I would go with canned tuna over canned chicken. Plus, canned chicken this week, what was up with that? Canned chicken at my local shop was around $2 a can, and tuna was 86 cents a can. So obviously, no doubt, going with the tuna for many more reasons than just the price, though. I mean, it's just a lot more nutrient dense. But I know tons of people that like chicken too. It's your choice. It really is your choice. Obviously, ideally, we would want steak. Steak is filled with so much good things. Steak. One reason, why I don't like chicken that much too is it has no omega-3s in it mainly. There's like no omega-3s, those healthy fats. It's just super lean. You have to eat so much of it. It's super low calories, which for some people is good. But for a guy like me that has to eat like 3,200 to maintain his weight, we need more fat in our diet, or I need more fat in my diet. And plus, tuna has a lot of omega-3s. So you're getting a lot of omega-3s in there. It's just a better bang for your buck, I believe, going with canned tuna over canned chicken. But that's up to you, though. But yeah, I totally get this. Inflation is killing my bank account, too. What I'm doing each week is I'm trying to shop for the best sales I can. If I see something on sale one week, I'll buy a little bit more of it so I don't have to buy it the next week. And that's just something I've been doing for maybe about a year now, so ever since, the supply chains issues have struck. Just one problem after another with this government administration. I'm telling you, inflation, supply chain, all the worker shortage and all that. I mean, just one problem after another. It's crazy. We need Trump back. That's just all there is to it. We need Trump back. I need my 2 pounds of steak for only $12, like I was paying when Trump was in office. I could buy at my local meat place when Trump was in office. I was buying 2 pounds of steak a week for $12. That's it. $12, and I was getting 2 pounds of freaking steak, good quality red meat. Now to buy that same 2 pounds, it's going to cost me $22. Obviously, I'm going to go with canned tuna because it's ridiculous. The inflation is just nuts. And it's a shame what this country is coming down to. It's a shame what people are having to pay and what people are having to do to make extra money to be able to feed themselves. And also if you have a family. If you have a family, my prayers are seriously out to you. I'm single and I'm struggling with this inflation shit. If you have a family, man, I really feel for you there. But my advice is just do what you can do. We as warriors, we know how to live on we know how to live on basically anything. We know how to if we're forced to eat canned meats, fine, so be it. If we're forced to eat tons of eggs, so be it. We know what nutrition is. We know what has protein. We know what has carbs. We know what has fats. If we have to eat a little bit lower quality of those to make sure it's cheaper on our wallets, then we have to do that. It's just is what it is. I mean, I remember one of the past jobs I had, and I lost my job out of nowhere. I was on a eggs and toast diet because that's all I could really afford. I would eat tons of whole eggs and I'd eat lots of toast. And I mean, honestly speaking, it wasn't the most nutritious, but eggs have a ton of nutrition in them. You got to do what you got to do. This is just a time where you have to strengthen it out. I'm hoping after the holidays that meat prices go back down and we can start buying steaks again, maybe some pork loins again, and some hams again. But right now, it's just not in the budget. That the meat's just 3 times the price it was when Trump was in office. It's just crazy. And my prayers go out to those people that have families because those are the ones that are really going to struggle because some people are very picky eaters. And when your inflation is this bad, you can't be a picky eater. You got to eat what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do to fit it in the wallet, whatever's in your budget. What are your thoughts on behind the back pull downs and presses? I like them for the most part. I like them because they're variety. And I see a lot of people fear these movements because they say, oh, it's bad on the shoulders. Oh, it's bad on this. Honestly speaking, it's only bad on those on those joints and whatnot if you already have problems. So for me, I do have a bad left shoulder. It's the shoulder that I ripped my trapezius on back in 2017, I think that was. I ripped my trapezius on that, torn my rotator cuff on my left shoulder. So my left shoulder is my bad shoulder. So for me, I try to not do too many behind the back stuff. Every now and then I throw it in just because I think it's still healthy to try to be able to do those movements. But my advice is if they don't hurt you, they're fine. If they give you some pain, do some other stuff. It's that easy. Don't think you need to do them, but don't think you have to stay away from them either. If I had healthy shoulders, I probably would do more behind the back stuff because Arnold was a huge fan of that. The golden ages of bodybuilding, they did tons of behind the neck pull downs and behind the neck presses. Eddie Cohn, one of the best powerlifters ever, or the best powerlifter ever, he did tons of behind the neck work with shoulders. He was known for his 405 press behind the back, shoulder press behind the back, and he was doing sets of like 3 to 5 with that. That's insane. He was never that big of a guy either. So if you have healthy shoulders, experiment with it. You might really like it. I have to be careful with it myself, and I don't do a ton of it anymore just because of that shoulder issue that I fight. But it's up to you. If it doesn't hurt, try it out. You might really, really like it. What's one company you're invested in heavily right now? So in some investing questions. Very, very good. So for me right now, I am very heavily invested in this Chinese company. And I know you're thinking China. Why China? This Chinese company is called NIO. NIO. Now you're going to have to do your own due diligence on this. But I think they are the next Apple in the making. The CEO of that company, William Li Bin, He is a very, very smart guy. A very intelligent guy. Reminds me a lot of Steve Jobs in his early days, and also reminds me a little bit of Elon Musk. He's always been the underdog in life. He's always had to work like hell for everything he's achieved. He has a great, great autobiography too. You can watch his autobiography on YouTube. Basically, this guy was the underdog through his whole life. He's super humble too. So humble that he is a billionaire and he still rides public transportation in China just because he just doesn't want to be on a pedestal and think he's higher than everybody else. Super humble. So when I see a CEO that's super humble, one that has the brain like Steve Jobs and the creativity of Elon Musk, and I've seen his track record, I'm all in at that point because I invest in people. I invest in people that have potential. And I see in William Lee's eyes, he has potential to make NIO the next Apple. Now, NIO is technically an EV company, electric vehicle company, but they're doing so much more than EVs. They're literally trying to make the world a better place all around in everything they do. And they have done that by showing all kinds of stuff. You can look them up on YouTube, watch their previous NIO days that are presented every December. NIO Day was just this past week, and they just announced a bunch of new stuff. They announced their brand new ET5, which is going to be a Tesla killer. The ET5 is a fantastic EV. I think it's going to be the number one top-selling EV in the near future. It is, I think, and I truly do say, I think NIO is on track to be another Apple. And at the moment, right now, as I'm talking, they are super cheap. They are valued right now around $40 billion in market cap, 35 to $40 billion in market cap. They are only around $30 a share right now. And honestly speaking, I see this company by 2025 going to $500, $600. By 2030, that's going to be over $1,000 a share. It's as easy as that. I know when I see success. I know that because I know how people think. I know when people have drive, they will not give up. And I see so many big things coming from this company. And also, it does not bother me that it's a Chinese company either, because they are expanding worldwide. By 2025, they want to be all around, all over, even in America by 2025. And these cars are going to sell like hotcakes. One reason I really think the ET5 is going to be such a good car is because it's only $40,000. $40,000. Most people can afford $40,000. And for all the other stuff you get with NIO too, just the points, there's a point system basically with NIO that works out and stuff. There's just so many reasons I like this company. There's so much potential I see with this company, and they're doing so much more than cars too. They're a technology company. They're developing battery technology. They're also developing augmented reality glasses. They're also jumping into VR glasses as well. So many different things that are reminding me of Apple in the early days. And I don't know about you, but it would be amazing to be able to go back in time and invest in Apple. I think anybody would do that if they had the chance to. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, NIO in 5 years, 10 years, is going to make people millionaires. It's going to make a lot of people millionaires. And I am very heavily invested in this company. I'm going to say right now, if this company would drop, I will be applying for any job I can get probably within the week that it drops. Like if this company would crash. I have put a lot of my money in this company because I truly do believe where it's going. I truly do believe in the view of the CEO. I've done my research. I've done my DD. I've spent months researching this company. And I just think it's I think it's the best buy that you can buy right now. I know some people are really talking about Lucid. I don't like a lot of things about Lucid. Lucid, I do not like how much they hype things up and then they don't deliver. Lucid has not even announced how many cars they've delivered. NIO, on the other hand, is on track and on set to produce and deliver over 600,000 cars this next year, almost 1 million cars for being a fairly new business. I mean, it's up to you. I know a lot of people that are on the Lucid team. I'm Team NIO, though. I used to be an investor in Lucid, but once I just saw some stuff that they were doing and they weren't delivering and they kept hyping stuff up, and once I noticed a lot of it's just hype, I had to go to a company that's actually showing what they're doing and actually making progress. NIO is getting around 10,000 cars delivered a month right now, compared to these other companies that are not even getting a quarter of that. American companies, obviously there's some winners, in China. XPeng is another good car company, but they're just a car company. They're not a technology company. They're just a car company. Li Auto, just a car company, not a technology company. NIO is going to be something that it blows all these other companies away. The top 3 companies to be invested in for the future, I believe, are Tesla, are NIO, and are Apple. I still think Apple has so much that they're going to do. I think Apple is going to be the true company that gives us true deep dive VR technology eventually. I think that's in the future. Ever watch Sword Art Online, the anime? I think that technology is going to be coming from Apple. So my recommendation, Tesla, NIO, and Apple for investing. That's my best advice investing I can give you. I've done a lot of research on it, but you should always do your own research. And as always, this is just entertainment advice. Make sure and do your own research. Okay, let's see here. Going into this next hypertrophy phase, what's one thing I can do to maximize muscle growth? Going into this next hypertrophy phase, what is one thing I can do to maximize muscle growth? Make sure you eat enough, make sure you rest enough, and make sure you're trying to progress in the gym. Progressive overload. Progressive overload doesn't always have to be getting stronger either. You can do more volume, you could do more frequency. You don't always have to increase the intensity and the amount you lift. You can increase your results by more volume, more frequency, a lot of different things. Throwing in more variations of that lift instead of just doing, incline press, maybe incline pause press or floor press, just doing different variations. There's a lot of different things. But I'd first make sure your nutrition is on point, make sure you're eating enough to grow, make sure you're resting enough to grow, make sure you're not training too many days of the week, make sure you're having at least a couple rest days. It's always important when you're in a hypertrophy phase, I think, to have 2 rest days, especially when you're younger. When you're younger, you can really make a lot more gains with more rest days. So it's something I wish I would have done differently in my past. When I was younger, I used to train almost every day, 6 to 7 days a week. Then I shot myself in the foot because I didn't recover enough. You grow out of the gym. Remember that. You don't grow in the gym, you grow out of the gym. You stimulate everything in the gym, you feed yourself to grow, and you grow out of the gym. That is how it works. You do not grow in the gym. So remember, recovery, that's a big thing that you should definitely focus on for an hypertrophy phase to make the most out of your results. Why do you think, Sean, that Mike O'Hearn is natural? So I say Mike O'Hearn is natural because he says he is. If he says he is, he has no reason to lie. Think about it this way. Think of all the people that say they're on steroids. There's so many big shot names that say, yeah, I take steroids. What about it? Steroids are just a normal thing that so many people do nowadays. Mike O'Hearn has nothing to hide. If he took steroids, he would tell us. He's not going to make more business saying he's natural. It's not going to do anything for him saying he's natural or saying he's doing steroids. People are still going to flock to him. He's still one of the best lifters out there. He's still one of the strongest people over 50 out there, or maybe even the strongest person over 50 out there. He's just a legend. Mike O'Hearn is a legend. And I believe he's natural. If he says he's natural, he's natural. Look, I think what a lot of people forget is he's trained over 42 years. This is his 43rd year of training. 43 years. 43 years. You train 40 years and try to get somebody to say you're not on steroids. Because I guarantee you, if you train 40 years consistently like Mike O'Hearn, you will look like you're on steroids. Even the most natural person will look like they're on steroids training that long. Because the muscle density they build up in that time, if they train properly, if they eat enough and through the years and take care of themselves like Mike O'Hearn has, it's amazing what the human body is capable of. And to say somebody's on steroids just because they look ridiculous and unreal is ridiculous. If somebody says they're not on steroids and they have the work and the track record to back it up, believe them. There's no reason that Mike O'Hearn would lie. He's not going to make more business saying he's on steroids. He's not going to make more business saying he's natural. People are still going to flock to him. That's the point. He's a hard worker. He's one of the hardest workers. Literally. Just if you don't believe me, just go check out some of his videos. He's over 50 years old, can easily squat over 500 pounds for reps. He can bench and incline bench almost 500 pounds for reps. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy what he can do. But he's trained a long time. A long time. I need snack ideas for my cut. Can you give me some? Yeah, so I'm not a big snacker myself. If you know me, you know my mentality. I only eat 2 times a day. Pre-workout, couple hours before my work. I eat one meal a couple hours before my workout, and I eat a meal after my workout. So that's usually lunch and dinner. And I don't snack. I've never been a big fan of snacks. But I have people that like snacks. For me, what I would recommend is anytime you eat food, I would always recommend having a protein with that. I'm not a fan of just, say, eating a fat source or just eating a carb source. Maybe on occasions every now and then, but for the most part, whenever you do a feeding, I always recommend having a protein in there as well. At least 12 grams of protein. Just because every time you eat, if you're only eating, say, a carb or a fat, you're not producing any type of muscle protein synthesis. Muscle protein synthesis happens when you eat protein. When you eat protein, that activates that. And obviously, there's a threshold. Obviously, to hit that threshold, it needs to be anywhere, depending on the size of the person, anywhere from 15 to 30 grams of protein. Heavier people need closer to that 30 gram mark, and lighter people can get away with that 15 to 20 gram mark. So if you're going to eat a meal, I always recommend having some protein with it, or maybe a glass of milk with it. So if you're having a snack, maybe a glass of milk with it would be a compromise to it. But snacks on general, if you're looking for snacks, Greek yogurt, a great snack, any type of like tuna packet maybe, beef jerky, I like a lot that I used to do in the old days when I used to snack. I don't know, pretzels maybe too. I've never been a big snacker. I just don't look at food like that. For me, it's like I eat a meal and I'm not ready to eat for hours later. Like I will feast till my heart's content, and I will just be good for a long time. And that's how I like doing it. It's just, and I recommend people try that, because for me, it was more than just a style of eating too. It was kind of like it trained me mentally in that warrior mindset, because a warrior doesn't know when their next meal is going to come. They might be on the battlefield for who knows how long, or another objective for who knows how long. They might not get to eat for a day. Is a warrior going to starve and be worthless basically if they don't get food? If that's the case, are you even a warrior? If you can't perform fasted, if you can't perform without food, I think people should try to fast more, because I do think it's a very healthy thing. Because when you are in a fasted state, when you haven't eaten for a long time, a lot of good things happen in the body. Now, not so much on the muscle side of things, but on the health side of things, yes. There's a lot of cellular regeneration. Your digestive system has had a ton of time to rest. It's not constantly working. It's not constantly trying to break down food. And when your digestive system is not constantly trying to break down food, your body's not giving energy to that. It's giving energy to other things, like cellular regeneration and all that kind of stuff. It's been shown, people that fast more have or get less cancers. There's just a lot of things I think that fasting does, and I think God created us to fast. I don't think God created us to be constant people that need food every few hours. I'm not a believer in that. I just don't think food should be eaten every couple hours for anybody. For health reasons, for reasons how we've been designed, for how the body works as a system and as a whole. I just think fasting is something more people should try. I think people would be amazed with how much better they can feel by fasting, and just more healthier, and their immune system is stronger. But if you're a snacker, do what you got to do. Like I said, Greek yogurt, dark chocolate, beef jerky, tuna packets. I mean, anything you can fit in a diet. I've talked about that too. It's calories in versus calories out. If you want a bag of chips, you can make a bag of chips fit. It's calories in versus calories out. That's really all there is to it. If you're trying to lose weight, you want to take in less calories. If you're trying to gain weight, you want to take in more. It's not really about what's a good snack or whatnot. It's really a calorie equation. Does this fit? Can I fit a bag of chips in? Can I fit a dark chocolate candy bar in? If you can, and you want it, so just do it. It's not going to kill you. Okay, let's see. Where was I on my list? Would you ever recommend steroids to anyone? Me personally? No, I wouldn't. Because I'm not a fan of augmenting the way that God created you. And when you take steroids, you are literally augmenting your hormonal levels to a completely different level than God built you as. And to me, that's just spitting on the Lord's face at that point. You're saying, God didn't give me what I needed, so I'm going to go and use steroids to get what I need. And I just am not for it. Do I have anything against people that use steroids? No. I have some friends that use steroids. That's up to them. That's their choice. But would I ever recommend steroids to anyone? No, I would not. I would not recommend any type of body augmentation in any way to anybody. When is Joe Biden going to leave the White House? He is killing America. Dude, join the crew. Join the crew. I don't know. But honestly, I don't want Joe Biden to leave because if Joe Biden leaves, we know who's in charge, right? Kamala Harris. That evil, demonic being that has a laughter of like a demon. She sounds like a demon when she laughs. That is somebody I do not want running the country. So if Joe Biden can at least, stay in charge and keep her on the outskirts, that would be the best case scenario right now. Because if Joe Biden, something happens to him or he can no longer be commander in chief, America is going to fall apart rapidly. Because Kamala, whatever you want to call her, Harris, she would destroy everything. She would be the demonic rise of demons and I don't know. She would kill America. I mean, we think Joe Biden is being bad in America. Kamala Harris would be the worst case scenario for America. We cannot have her be commander in chief. That would be so bad in so many ways. I could go on for hours why that would be just terrible. So when is Joe Biden going to leave? Let's hope he leaves in 4 years and then another Trump can take and maybe Donald Trump Jr. or maybe Donald Trump wants to run again or, maybe Kayleigh McEnany or maybe Kansas Owens. We can get one of them in the White House. I mean, I'd be for any of those people. But yeah, let's just keep Joe Biden in there as commander-in-chief for right now, just because if he leaves, Kamala Harris is the next one to come up, and we won't get rid of her. She'll be with us till America's down the drain, till America is like another foreign country, basically, and we have illegal immigrants running around everywhere, and terrorists are at an all-time high. And like I said, I could go on and on how bad it would be for America if Kamala Harris was president of America. Let's just keep Joe Biden. Joe Biden, he's not a good president, but let him just stand behind the stands. I think we can put up 4 years with this guy. I mean, only 3 more years to go. 3 more years to go, and we can get another Republican in there. How am I spending Christmas? So, well, this is different than what I would have answered 24 hours ago. So last night, my older sister got in a car accident. And she's in the hospital pretty badly. Broken ribs, broken pelvis. It kind of sucks because we were planning on going to Cincinnati to hang out with them for Christmas. Everybody up north, was going to go down south to stay with my older sister, the one that got in the car accident. And we were going to stay at her house and have Christmas down there this year. But as of now, I don't know what's happening because my parents are down there in the hospital with her. I'm up here north, and I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea how we're going to spend how Christmas is going to go. It is what it is. And I mean, if prayers, I appreciate the prayers too. I mean, obviously prayers can heal. So if you guys want to pray for my older sister, that'd be great. But obviously, God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. We have to remember that. Sometimes, we doubt, I think we doubt that just because of things happening in our lives, but we have to realize that God knows what's best for us in all occasions. He always knows what's best for us. Just read your book. I learned so much. Adding salt around my workout was a game changer. My question is, though, how much salt would be overkill? It just depends. It depends on where you live. Do you live closer to the equator? If you live closer to the equator, you get more sun, you sweat more, you need more salt. If you're like me and you live pretty much north, I'm northwestern Ohio, closer to Canada. For me, what I do is in the summer, I do probably around 7,000 to 8,000 milligrams of salt a day. Or sodium a day, not salt a day. Sodium a day. Not salt, sodium. Make sure you get that right. 6,000 to 8,000 milligrams of sodium a day in the summer. But in the winter, I take about 5,000, maybe 6,000 on a leg day. But my sodium's probably 2,000 lower, 2,000, 3,000 lower in the winter than it is the summer. I also drink less water in the winter too. This is something that a lot of people do. And I fell for this mistake a long time. I kept the same water intake year round because I thought that's what my body needed. And what would happen is in the winter, I would become super weak in my workouts and not know what was happening. The reason why is because I was taking in less salt by default, and I was also taking in the same amount of water as I was in the summer with the more salt. So therefore, in the winter, I was flushing out all my electrolytes, going into my workouts with less of a pump, going into my workouts less weak, or more, going into my workouts more weak. Once I realized that in the winter, I don't need as much salt, so therefore I don't need as much water, everything kind of came together. So for me, in the summer, I drink more water, I take in more salt. In the winter, I drink less water, and I take in less salt. It's something you're just going to have to do. If you have the same temperatures year-round, not much is going to change. But here in Ohio, it can go, in the summers to 100 degrees, and in the winters, 20 below zero. You're going to be taking in different levels of water and different levels of sodium through those different time periods. When it's hotter, you need more water and more salt. When it's colder, you don't need as much water and you don't need as much salt. That's just it's just the body itself. You got to give yourself what you need. If you have a more active lifestyle, you need more water and more salt. If you have a more inactive lifestyle, you sit at a desk all day, you don't need as much water and you don't need as much salt. Trying to target hamstrings and inner thighs on leg press. How would you go about it? So the leg press, if you didn't know, can be used to target any part of your leg. You can target quads, you can target your outer quads, inner quad, or your inner quads, your inner hamstrings, your outer hamstrings. You can do basically it all on the leg press. But how you position your feet and the width of your feet, like how far apart they are, depends on what part of the leg you're going to hit. So I'm going to go through a few recommendations for you. Whenever you have a parallel stance to your body, so just a natural stance on a leg press, and your feet are pretty much straight ahead, maybe slightly outwards, and they're like in the middle of the pad, you're going to be hitting basically everything on your legs. As long as you're hitting depth, you're going to be hitting quads, hamstrings, basically it all. The wider you go on a leg press, the more hamstrings and inner thighs you hit. The closer your legs are together and the less deep you go, the more quads you hit. So if you're trying to target quads, more half reps are more beneficial. If you're really just trying to target quads specifically, more half reps. Half reps, quarter reps, maybe even two. But also know that those can be difficult on the knees if you have bad knees, so just be careful with that. But the deeper you go in your depth on a leg press, is the more hamstrings that gets involved. Because on the rebound is when the hamstrings get involved. On the negative position on the leg press is when the hamstrings get involved. So if you're carrying that negative and you're hitting and you're going to a 90 degree depth or maybe even lower, 90 degrees between your calf and your hamstring, you're going to be activating a lot more hamstrings. But if you wanted to target your inner thighs, I would go with a wider stance, toes pointed out more, higher up on the pad, and make sure you're going very, very low. That is how I would target hamstrings. Also, where your feet sit on the pad, if your feet are higher on the pad, you're going to be hitting more hamstrings. If they're lower on the pad, meaning your knees are going to have to drive over your feet more, that's going to activate more quadricep. So depending on where you put your feet on the pad and how far apart they are and where your toes are pointed to, If your toes are pointed more out, you're going to hit that outer part of the quad. I'm sorry. If your toes are pointed outward, you're going to be hitting the inner part of the quad more. If your toes are pointed more inward, you're going to be hitting the more outer part of the quad. And that's just how the quad is designed, how it's designed when we press. So think of it like the opposite, basically. If you're trying to target the outer quad, make sure your feet are closer together and feet are more straight, pointing forward and lower on the pad. If you're trying to target the inner quad, the inner thigh, feet should be wider, maybe a little higher up on the pad. Go more deeper in your presses, and you'll be hitting more of your inner thighs. And also, too, how far apart, you open up your thighs, too, is also going to depend. If you go really, really wide, opening up your thighs, you're going to be hitting more inner thighs. If you're going to be doing more of like a narrower, you're going to be hitting the outer thighs. Just saw you're doing Let's Plays on YouTube. What's a game you're looking forward to this next year? Elden Ring. Elden Ring by From Software. Because if you know me, I like Souls games. I like Dark Souls, Code Vein, any type of Souls-born type of game. Elden Ring, I would say, is my number one pick for this next year. I'm also very excited for the co-op campaign of Halo Infinite. I have a friend that we play all like co-op campaign games together, so I'm very excited to play co-op campaign Halo Infinite. But yeah, Elden Ring, Halo Infinite multiplayer, or Halo Infinite co-op campaign multiplayer. But other than that, I'm sure there's other games I'm thinking of. I'm more set on, I guess there's a mobile game too I'm looking forward to. Let's see here. It's called Noah's Heart. The makers of Dragon Raja are making this new mobile game called Noah's Heart. Basically an open world RPG, create your own character. I'm looking forward to that too. Probably going to spend a ton of time in that. I like a good MMO RPG. It's a good way to meet people too, actually. I've met a lot of interesting people through playing MMO RPGs, so yeah. But probably Elden Ring would be my number one pick for this next year. Just everything about it, being a Souls-born game, but being an open world, being an RPG, the fact that you could play multiplayer through the whole thing with co-op campaign with somebody, I think that's just going to be such a fun experience. I think it's just going to open up a whole new world for the future of gaming too. Also, I downloaded the Matrix Unreal Engine, or the Matrix Unreal Experience, Unreal Engine 5 experience on my Xbox Series X, and it's just amazing what gaming is coming to. Imagine in the future, if there is this in the future, which I think there will be eventually, full dive, like I was talking about, I think Apple is going to create full dive technology. Imagine being able to spend your time in games like that look so realistic, where you can do anything. There's no consequences. I think it's just going to be such a fun and an interesting time to be a gamer. I really think 2025 to 2030 is going to be the most innovative time in America, or in this world, compared to where it was back when, Apple and Microsoft first exploded in the days. Because here's something you have to remember. History repeats itself. History will always repeat itself in every way possible. From the beginning of time, history has always repeated itself. So if you think, Apple and Tesla, there's never going to be other companies that blow up like them, do not think like that. History is going to repeat itself. There's going to be companies that do the same exact things, that have the same exact big innovation type of deals, and new companies will blow up, and new innovations and new technology. There hasn't been a lot of new innovation in the past 10, 20 years. There really hasn't been, Things have expanded. The iPhone has gotten better. Technology has improved. But really, has there been any crazy innovations in the past 20 years? Not really. Not as much as when, the iPhone was invented, or the iPod Touch. I still remember when the iPod Touch first came out, I thought it was revolutionary. I thought it was just insane how you could check the weather and look at maps and play games anywhere you were with this little teeny iPod Touch. I found it fascinating. And now everybody has them, called an iPhone. We can make calls on it. So I do think we are in a time right now where it's going to be the next big innovation. Brand new millionaires are going to be made. And to do that, you have to invest. So my advice, I'm going to say this again, invest in companies that you think are going to change the world. And I truly think Tesla, NIO, and Apple are going to continue to innovate and be crazy, crazy game changers in the future, especially on that 2025 to 2030. I think big innovations are going to come. That's if, if the world doesn't end. Maybe we are in the end times. Maybe we are in Revelations in the Bible. I don't know. I live one day at a time. I've learned if I live more than one day at a time and try to think too much in the future, I get super stressed out. And that's just something I do. I live one day at a time and just thank the Lord for that each day. With all that, guys, that's the podcast today. Right around an hour, like I said. Enjoy your Christmas. Everybody have a safe and happy and God-blessed holiday. Make sure if you like this podcast, if you're on Spotify, give it a 5 stars, 4 star, or, whatever you think I should get. And if you're on Apple, the star system has been out there for a while. Make sure you give me a 5, 4 star, whatever you think I deserve on there too. I appreciate every one of you trying to share this podcast. I always see all the posts that you guys tag me in. I don't always respond to every single one of them, but I try to respond to almost everyone that I see. But thank you guys for sharing the podcast, trying to get this community off. 2022 is going to be an amazing year for everything. I'm looking forward to it. Financially, 2021 was not easy for me. And it is scary, at times, barely making it by and whatnot. But I know God is looking out for me. I know God provides for me. I know God is going to lead me to where I need to be. And I'm looking forward to what God has planned for me in 2022. And I hope you guys are there with me and can experience it with me too as well. Also, probably going to take the next couple weeks off for this podcast just because we are heading into 2022. I'm going to take a couple weeks just to get my head together, come up with new ideas, new content. And first week of 2022, we will be back on One Warrior. Thank you guys for everything. Have a great New Year's as well. God bless and stay strong.